Welcome to Hoshi Whisper Bedtime, a quiet grove where stories drift softly, like snowfall through bamboo. Take a slow breath in. Let the weight of the day settle gently behind you. And when you feel ready, we'll walk together into tonight's tale. The winter forest grew quieter as Hoshi walked further from the last village he had visited. His small paws pressed gently into fresh snow, leaving behind a trail of warmth. The pine trees here stood further apart, their branches heavy with winter's rest. Between them, darkness gathered softly, not frightening, but welcoming, like the space between breaths. Hoshi's lantern swayed at his side, casting a tender amber glow that danced across the white forest floor. He knew this path would lead somewhere new, somewhere a soul might be waiting. Ahead, the character of the forest began to change. Where there had been only pine and cedar, now tall shapes emerged from the snow like ancient guardians standing watch. Bamboo, countless stalks rising straight and true toward the winter sky. They were covered in snow, each one crowned with white, transforming the grove into a forest of silver-green pillars. Hoshi paused at the edge of this new world, his breath forming small clouds in the cold air. The bamboo swayed ever so slightly, though there was no wind he could feel. It was as if they were breathing. As Hoshi stepped between the first stalks of bamboo, he noticed how the frost clung to every surface. The narrow leaves bore crystals of ice that caught his lantern's light and threw it back in tiny sparks, gentle constellations frozen in place. Each bamboo stalk wore a delicate coat of white frost, patterns like brush strokes painting their length. The grove seemed to shimmer with a quiet magic, as though the winter itself had decided to rest here and dream. Hoshi's ears turned slowly, listening, but the frost held all sound close and soft. Something felt different here. The air was utterly still, more still than any forest ought to be. No breeze whispered through the bamboo. No branch creaked or swayed with purpose. Even Hoshi's own footsteps seemed muffled, as though the grove was holding its breath. He paused, lifting one paw, then setting it down again with care. The silence was not empty, though it was full of waiting, full of something unspoken. The kind of quiet that comes before someone speaks, when words are gathering like snow clouds before they fall. Then, soft as a sigh, Hoshi heard it. A sound. No, not quite a sound. An echo. It drifted between the bamboo stalks like smoke, shapeless and gentle. A word, perhaps, or the memory of a word. It carried no weight, no urgency, only the faintest trace of feeling. Hoshi's ears lifted, his golden eyes soft with understanding. The bamboo grove held voices, thoughts and memories that wandered here, carried by souls who had not yet found their way forward. He had heard of places like this, where the boundary between heart and world grew thin as silk. Snow began to fall again, small flakes drifting down through the bamboo canopy. They fell slowly, as if they had all the time in the world, landing on Hoshi's fur without melting. The snow seemed to soften every sound even further, wrapping the grove in layers of gentleness. Each flake caught the lantern's glow for just a moment before settling onto the ground. The world was becoming quieter still, turning inward, like someone pulling a blanket closer on a cold night. Hoshi walked on, his presence a small warmth in the vast, peaceful silence. Where Hoshi walked, his paw prints glowed. Not brightly, but with a soft luminescence that lingered after he passed small pools of golden warmth pressed into the snow. They marked his path through the bamboo like gentle lanterns left behind for anyone who might need to follow. The light in each print pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat, and after a few moments would fade back into the ordinary white of snow. But while they glowed, they seemed to promise something, that no one who walked here was truly alone, that kindness had passed this way and left its mark. Hoshi's lantern began to change. Its warm amber light flickered, not in distress, but in recognition. The flame inside grew slightly brighter, then dimmer, then brighter again, as if responding to something only it could sense. Hoshi looked down at it and understood. There was someone here, somewhere deeper in the grove. A soul carrying something heavy, something that needed the kind of light only this lantern could offer. Not a light to see by, but a light to feel by. A warmth that reminded lost hearts they could still find their way home. The bamboo stalks cast long shadows across the snow, and as Hoshi walked between them, the shadows seemed to move. Not quickly, not with purpose, but with the gentle sway of reeds in water. They danced at the edge of the lantern's glow, bending and straightening, crossing and uncrossing. The movement was hypnotic in its slowness, like watching clouds reshape themselves across a summer sky. These shadows were not threatening, they were the grove itself, breathing, shifting, making room for the small fox spirit who walked with light in the dark. The echoes between the bamboo were stronger now. Hoshi could almost make out words, fragments of thoughts that had been spoken or felt by someone walking this path before him. I should have. One whispered. If only. Breathed another. They were not sad, exactly. They were more like questions that had been asked so many times they had become part of the air itself. The bamboo carried them gently, holding them without judgment. Hoshi's heart grew tender as he listened. These were the sounds of a soul trying to understand something, working through a tangle of memories like fingers working through knotted thread. Hoshi stopped and closed his eyes. When he opened them again, his vision had shifted slightly. He could see it now, a faint thread of light, almost invisible, running between the bamboo stalks ahead. It was the trail of a troubled heart, the path of someone who had passed through here carrying questions and doubts. The thread shimmered like spider silk caught in morning dew, delicate and true. Hoshi's lantern pulled gently in that direction, wanting to follow, wanting to offer its warmth. He nodded to himself, his decision made. He would follow this thread wherever it led. Hoshi began to walk again, his steps slow and measured, following the thread of light deeper into the bamboo grove. The stalks grew closer together here, creating a path that curved and wound like a river. Snow continued to fall in its gentle rhythm. The echoes hummed softly all around him, and his lantern swayed with each step, casting its warm glow across frost and shadow alike. Somewhere ahead, someone was waiting, perhaps without knowing they were waiting. And Hoshi, patient as winter itself, walked on to meet them. The grove held its breath, and the night grew softer still. The path continues, softly. The path curved one final time, and there, beneath a canopy of snow-laden bamboo, Hoshi saw them. A soul sat beside a stream that had frozen mid-flow, its surface like clouded glass. They were small against the towering bamboo, their form translucent and soft-edged, as souls often appear when they've been wandering for a long time. Their shoulders were drawn inward, arms wrapped gently around their knees. They stared at the frozen water as if searching for something beneath the ice. The bamboo stood watch around them, patient and silent. Hoshi's heart grew tender. He had found who he was looking for. Snow continued its quiet descent, flake by flake, settling on the soul's shoulders and hair without weight. Each snowflake landed and rested there, building slowly, softly, like time itself was being gentle with them. The soul didn't brush the snow away. They seemed not to notice it at all, lost somewhere inside their own thoughts. The frozen stream reflected nothing, its surface too clouded with frost. Around them, the world was peaceful, wrapped in winter's softest blanket. But inside, Hoshi could sense, there was no peace at all. Only a storm of whispers that would not quiet. As Hoshi drew closer, he heard the bamboo speaking. The stalks hummed with voices, not their own, but echoes of the soul's thoughts, reflected back like light in a mirror. "I should have known better," one whispered. "Why did I say that?" breathed another. "I can't stop thinking about it," rustled a third. The bamboo held each thought tenderly, repeating them in soft waves that rippled through the grove. The soul closed their eyes, and the echoes grew slightly louder, as if the bamboo was trying to help them hear, trying to show them what they carried. But the soul only drew their arms tighter, wishing the voices would fade. Hoshi moved forward with great care, each paw step deliberate and soft. He did not want to startle this soul. They were already so full of noise inside. His approach was like snowfall itself, gentle and inevitable, bringing only warmth. The soul's head lifted slightly at the sound of his footsteps, turning just enough to see the small fox spirit emerging from between the bamboo stalks. Their eyes met, the soul's filled with a tired kind of recognition, and Hoshi's filled with understanding that needed no words. He continued forward slowly, giving them time to see he meant no harm, only comfort. Hoshi's lantern casts its amber glow across the snow around them, melting nothing but warming everything. The light touched the frozen stream and made the ice glow from within, like a jewel catching sunrise. It spread across the ground where the soul sat, not bright enough to hurt tired eyes, but bright enough to push back the cold just a little. The bamboo caught the light too, their frost-covered surfaces shimmering with reflected warmth. In this small circle of lantern glow, the world felt safer somehow, less vast, less overwhelming. A space just large enough for two to sit together. The soul looked at Hoshi, and their voice came out as barely more than a whisper, fragile as a single snowflake. "I can't quiet my thoughts," they said. The words hung in the air between them, honest and raw. "They keep circling, the same worries, the same memories. I try to push them away, but they only come back louder. The bamboo, it echoes everything I feel. I can hear myself thinking, over and over." Their hands trembled slightly. "I just want it to stop. I just want to rest." The admission cost them something. Vulnerability always does. But saying it aloud made it real, and real things can finally be held. Hoshi settled onto the snow beside them, close enough to offer presence, far enough to give space. His voice was soft as wind through silk. "The bamboo echoes your thoughts because they want to be heard," he said gently. "Not fought. Not pushed away. Just heard." He looked up at the tall stalks surrounding them. "Thoughts are like snow falling. Each one comes, lands softly, and becomes part of the ground. But we try to catch them, to stop them from falling. And our hands grow cold and tired." He turned his golden eyes back to the soul. "What if you didn't try to quiet them? What if you let them fall, like snow, and simply watched them land?" Something shifted in the soul's expression, a wall coming down, a breath finally released. A single tear rolled down their cheek, catching the lantern's light as it fell. It dropped onto the snow and disappeared, becoming part of the winter around them. The soul's shoulders shook once, gently, and then stilled. It wasn't the crying of despair, it was the crying of relief, of a burden being set down at last. "I've been so tired," they whispered. "So tired of fighting." Hoshi nodded slowly. "I know," he said, his voice carrying all the warmth of the lantern he carried. "You can rest now. Your thoughts will still be here, but you don't have to hold them so tightly." As the soul's breathing steadied, something remarkable happened. The bamboo's echoes began to soften. The whispered worries that had circled through the grove grew gentler, less insistent. "Should have known." Faded to a sigh. "Why did I?" Dissolved into the wind. The bamboo still held the thoughts, but differently now, not repeating them like accusations, but cradling them like lullabies. The soul lifted their head and listened with wonder. The grove was teaching them what Hoshi had said: thoughts don't need to be silenced. They only need to be allowed to exist without fear. Gently held. Gently released. Hoshi said nothing more. The soul said nothing more. They sat together beside the frozen stream as snow continued to fall in its patient rhythm. The lantern glowed softly between them, a small sun in the winter dark. The bamboo swayed ever so slightly, breathing with them, holding space for whatever needed to be felt. And in that silence, The kind of silence that isn't empty but full of peace. Something healed. Not all at once. Not completely. But enough. Enough for tonight. Enough to remember that being lost doesn't mean being alone. That even in the deepest winter, there is warmth. There is light. There is always someone willing to sit beside you until the morning comes. The night grows softer still. After a long, peaceful silence, Hoshi rose slowly to his paws. The lantern swayed gently at his side, casting its warm light across the snow. He turned to the soul with eyes that held only kindness. "Would you like to walk with me?" he asked, his voice soft as moth wings. Sometimes, sitting with our thoughts is what we need. But sometimes, walking helps them find their way through us. He didn't hurry them, didn't insist. The invitation hung in the air like a leaf on water, free to be accepted or left floating. The soul looked up at him, hesitated, then slowly nodded. They rose on unsteady legs, like a deer taking its first steps after a long winter's rest. They began to walk together, Hoshi leading the way between the bamboo stalks. Behind them, two trails of glowing footprints appeared in the snow, Hoshi's smaller, golden and steady, the soul's slightly larger, pale blue and tentative at first. The prints pulsed softly with their own light, marking their path through the grove. Where Hoshi's prints glowed with warm certainty, the soul's flickered gently, growing a little stronger with each step. The two trails wound side by side, sometimes closer, sometimes farther apart, but always companioning each other. The snow held their light tenderly, as if grateful for the presence of two travelers brave enough to walk through winter's heart. As they moved deeper into the grove, the bamboo began to respond to their passing. Each stalk they walked near let out a soft, crystalline chime, not loud, but clear as a bell heard across still water. The sounds layered over one another, creating a gentle melody that followed them like a silk ribbon trailing in the wind. It was the sound of ice and wood speaking together, of frost catching light and releasing it as music. The soul's eyes widened slightly at the beauty of it. Hoshi glanced back with a small smile. "The grove is welcoming you," he said quietly. "It wants you to know you're safe here." The bamboo began to echo again, but differently this time. As the soul walked, the stalks whispered their thoughts back to them. "What if I'm not enough?" one murmured. "Everyone must think," breathed another. "I should have been stronger," rustled a third. The soul's steps faltered slightly, shoulders tensing. The echoes felt too close, too sharp, even though the voices were gentle. Hoshi walked steadily beside them, his presence a quiet anchor. "Listen," he said softly. "Don't turn away. Just listen to them as if they were stories being told by someone else. You don't have to believe every story you hear." They continued walking, and something began to change. The echoes that repeated through the bamboo grew softer, not in volume, but in tone. The harsh edges smoothed away like stones worn by water. "What if I'm not enough?" became I am doing my best. Everyone must think. Faded to I cannot know what others think. I should have been stronger, transformed into I was strong enough to survive. The soul's breathing steadied as they listened. The bamboo was teaching them something Hoshi already knew, that thoughts, when held gently, can change shape. That worries, when given space to breathe, sometimes learn to speak more kindly. Movement caught the corner of the soul's eye. Small shapes were forming in the air around them, frost spirits, delicate as dandelion seeds, shy as winter birds. They appeared from behind bamboo stalks and from between snowflakes, their forms barely more than suggestions of light and ice. Each one was unique. Some looked like tiny moths with crystalline wings, others like floating flowers made of frost, still others like small wisps of luminous mist. They hovered at a distance, curious and cautious, drawn by the warmth of Hoshi's lantern and the gentle change happening in the soul beside him. The soul stared in wonder, and one small frost spirit drifted slightly closer, brave enough to show itself fully. As they walked on, more frost spirits joined them. They floated alongside the travelers, keeping pace with their gentle steps. The spirits moved in slow spirals and graceful loops, weaving patterns in the air like invisible threads, being embroidered on winter's fabric. Some settled briefly on the soul's shoulders before lifting off again, light as breath. Others danced around Hoshi's lantern, drawn to its warmth but never too close, as if they understood their nature was to remain cool and crystalline. The grove had become a procession, two travelers and their companions of ice and light, all moving together through the silver-green forest. The soul felt less alone than they had in longer than they could remember. The snowfall around them began to change. The flakes that had been falling at their usual steady pace now drifted slower, as if time itself had decided to rest for a while. Each snowflake became visible as an individual, a tiny work of art tumbling lazily through the air, taking its time to find the ground. The soul reached out a hand, and a flake landed on their palm without melting, its intricate pattern visible for a long, peaceful moment before it finally dissolved. Everything felt unhurried here. There was nowhere they needed to be, nothing they needed to do except take one step, and then another, and breathe. As they walked deeper still, the soul noticed the bamboo changing. Where the stalks had been cold blue-green in the darkness, touched with frost and shadow, they were now beginning to show hints of warmer color. A soft verdant green emerged beneath the frost, as if spring was remembering itself even in winter's depths. The bamboo seemed to stand taller, more alive, more present. The transformation was subtle, not the bright green of summer, but the gentle promise that winter does not last forever. That beneath the cold, life is only resting, waiting for its moment to return. The soul felt something similar stirring in their own chest, a small warmth, a tiny seed of hope. The soul realized their breathing had changed. Where before each breath had been shallow and quick, caught in the tightness of anxiety, now they were breathing deeply. Air filled their lungs all the way down, then released slowly, completely. In, out, In, out. Each breath like a wave washing gently onto a shore and then retreating. Hoshi noticed too, and his tail swayed gently in quiet approval. The frost spirits seemed to breathe with them, their gentle pulsing synchronized to the rhythm of inhale and exhale. The bamboo chimed softly with each breath, as if the entire grove was breathing as one living thing, and they were part of it, not separate, not alone, but woven into something larger and infinitely kind. Hoshi spoke again, his voice blending with the sounds of the grove like honey stirred into warm tea. "You are learning something important," he said gently. "You are learning that you can walk even when you're afraid. That you can move forward even when you carry worries. That thoughts and feelings can exist beside you without overwhelming you." He paused, his lantern swaying. "The bamboo echoes what's inside you, but it also shows you that echoes fade. They soften. They change. Nothing that causes you pain right now will feel exactly the same tomorrow, or the day after, or the day after that. You are always changing, always healing, even when you can't feel it happening." They walked on in comfortable silence, and the last echoes drifted through the bamboo so softly they were barely there at all. "You are enough," one whispered, and faded. "You are trying," breathed another, and dissolved. "You are here," rustled the bamboo, and the words hung in the air like a blessing. The soul felt tears on their cheeks again, but these were different, not tears of exhaustion or frustration, but of relief, of gratitude, of something hard and tight finally beginning to loosen. The frost spirits circled them both, and Hoshi's glowing footprints led the way forward through the grove. Above them, through gaps in the bamboo canopy, stars were beginning to appear. The night was deepening, but it felt less dark now. It felt like the kind of darkness that comes just before rest, safe, gentle, and full of peace. The walk continues, gently. The bamboo path began to widen, the tall stalks gradually stepping back as if bowing to something sacred ahead. Hoshi's steps remained steady, the soul walking beside him with growing ease, the frost spirits still floating in their gentle procession. Then, like a secret being revealed, the grove opened into a clearing. It was circular and perfect, as if the bamboo had grown this way intentionally, creating a sanctuary at the heart of the forest. The snow here lay undisturbed and pristine, glowing with its own soft luminescence. Above, the sky opened wide, and there, suspended in the winter darkness like a pearl in midnight silk, hung the moon, full and radiant and impossibly bright. Moonlight poured into the clearing like water filling a bowl, washing over everything with cool, gentle radiance. It touched the snow and made it shimmer like scattered diamonds. It kissed the bamboo at the clearing's edge, turning frost into liquid silver. The light seemed almost tangible, as if one could reach out and feel it flowing between their fingers like silk. The soul stopped walking and stood transfixed, tilted their face upward toward that luminous presence. The moon was so bright, so peaceful, so eternally calm, watching over the world with ancient patience. Under its gaze, Everything felt held. Everything felt seen. Everything felt forgiven. Hoshi's lantern began to pulse, its amber warmth responding to the moon's silver glow. The two lights, one carried by the small fox spirit, one cast down from the heavens, began to harmonize. Where they met in the air above the clearing, they didn't clash or compete. Instead, they wove together like two voices singing in perfect accord, creating something more beautiful than either light alone. Golden and silver intertwined, dancing slowly through falling snowflakes, filling the clearing with a radiance that was both warm and cool, both comforting and transcendent. The soul watched in wonder as the two lights circled each other, teaching without words that different kinds of beauty can exist together. The bamboo surrounding the clearing began to sway, though still there was no wind. They moved together, all at once, creating a soft rushing sound like distant ocean waves. And within that sound came the echoes, but transformed now, no longer sharp or painful. The bamboo whispered in time with the moonlight, each stalk humming with a frequency that matched the silver radiance. The worries and thoughts that had circled so loudly before were still there, but they had become part of a larger song, one note among many, woven into a melody that was neither sad nor joyful, simply true. The soul listened, and for the first time, the echoes didn't frighten them. They were just there. Just part of the night. Hoshi turned to the soul with gentle eyes. "You can close your eyes now," he said softly. "You're safe here. The moon is watching. I am here. The grove is holding you." It was permission they hadn't known they needed, permission to stop watching, to stop guarding, to stop trying so hard to control everything inside them. The soul's eyes fluttered closed, and immediately they felt the moonlight on their eyelids, warm despite its silver color. They felt Hoshi's presence beside them, steady as stone. They felt the snow beneath their feet, solid and supportive. And slowly, slowly, the tightness in their chest began to unwind like ribbon unfurling. With their eyes closed, the soul could feel the echoes inside themselves more clearly, but they felt different now. What had been cold and sharp had become warm and soft. Each worry, each anxious thought, each painful memory was still present, but wrapped now in something gentle. The moonlight seemed to reach inside them, touching each echo with silver fingers, and where it touched, ice melted into water. The soul felt tears slip down their cheeks, but they were the kind of tears that heal, not born from pain, but from the release of pain. From finally being allowed to let go. The frost spirits gathered close, their presence a quiet comfort, and the bamboo whispered, "You can rest now. You can rest." The soul's breathing deepened into a rhythm as old as tides, steady, even, unforced. Each inhale drew in the moonlight, cool and clarifying. Each exhale released something that no longer needed to be carried. In, out, in, out. Their heartbeats slowed to match the gentle pulse of Hoshi's lantern. The bamboo swayed in time with their breath. Even the falling snow seemed to drift in synchrony with the rhythm they'd found. Everything was connected, everything was breathing together, and they were no longer fighting against the current. They were part of the flow, part of the night, part of something vast and peaceful and infinitely kind. Hoshi's voice came soft as a lullaby, barely more than a breath. "Your thoughts haven't disappeared," he said gently. "They're still there, and they always will be. But they've learned to rest beside you now, instead of crowding inside you. They've learned that they don't need to shout to be heard." He paused, letting the words settle like snow. "You've been so brave tonight. You walked when you were tired. You listened when you were afraid. You let yourself feel when you wanted to hide. That takes more courage than you know." The lantern glowed brighter for just a moment. "You can carry this peace with you. Even when the noise returns, you'll remember this clearing. You'll remember that quiet is always waiting for you, here in the center of everything." The soul opened their eyes slowly, as if waking from a dream they didn't want to leave. But the clearing was still there, the moon still bright, the bamboo still swaying, Hoshi still beside them. And they realized with a small, surprised joy that the peace hadn't vanished when they opened their eyes. It was still inside them, still humming quietly in their chest. They looked around the clearing with new eyes, at the way moonlight caught in the bamboo's frost, at the way the snow held shadows and light in equal measure, at the way Hoshi's lantern painted everything it touched with tenderness. The world was the same, but they were different. Softer, gentler, more whole. They stood together in the clearing, fox spirit and healing soul, surrounded by bamboo and moonlight, and softly falling snow. The frost spirits drifted in lazy circles, content. The echoes had faded to the quietest whisper, no louder than the sound of a heart at rest. Above them, the moon continued its patient watch, as it had for countless nights, as it would for countless more. The snow fell without hurry, each flake a small blessing, each one finding its place on the ground. And in that moment, standing in the center of winter's heart, the soul understood they were not broken. They had never been broken. They were simply learning, as all things learn, as the bamboo learns to bend in wind, as the moon learns to wax and wane. That peace is not the absence of feeling, but the gentle holding of all feelings at once. The night wrapped around them like a blanket. The grove breathed. And everything, at last, was soft. Sleep well, dear traveler. The moon will watch over you until morning comes.